Kunja Bihari. Jaya Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Rukmini Dwarkadish. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Haribo, Jaya Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Paravrajik Acharya, Asatara Sata Sri Sriman. ISKCON BBT Founder, Acharyas of Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Leela Prabhu Om Vishnupad is Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishya Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kahosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopana Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajabhumi Navadam Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Lachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Your most beautiful worship, Shri Shukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Shri Shukmini Dwarkanath Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gornitai Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai. ISKCON Los Angeles Yatra Ki Jai. Brihad Mridanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glory Srila Prabhupada. Please forgive the posture. The knees are giving a lot of trouble lately. So, Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Deving Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamadhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our bare means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is a translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regularly attending the Srimad Bhagavatam class and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 14, the pregnancy of Diti in the evening. Today's text should be 24. Etasya sadhvi sanjayam Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Parito Bhuta Parshadbhir Rishenatati Bhutarat Etasyang Sadvi Sandhyayam Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Parito Bhuta Parshadbhir Rishenatati Bhutarat Etasyang Sadvi Sandhyayam Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Parito Bhuta Parshadbhir Rishenatati Bhutarat Etasyang Sadvi Sandhyayam Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Parito Bhuta Parshadbhir Rishenatati Bhutarat. Please chant. Vaishnavis. Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha Synonyms. Etasyam. In this period. Sadhvi. O chaste one. Sandhyayam. At the junction of day and night. Evening. Bhagavan. The personality of God. Just want to make sure that that version also says the same thing. Yeah. Didn't say Godhead, it said personality of God. Bhuta Bhavanaha. The well-wisher of the ghostly characters. Paritaha. Surrounded by. Bhuta Parshadbihi. By ghostly companions. Vrishena. On the back of the bull carrier. Atati. Travels. Bhutarat. The king of the ghosts. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Lord Shiva, the king of the ghosts, sitting on the back of his bull carrier, travels at this time, accompanied by ghosts who follow him for their welfare. Please repeat. Lord Shiva, the king of the ghosts, sitting on the back of his bull carrier, travels at this time, accompanied by ghosts who follow him for their welfare. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Lord Shiva or Rudra is the king of the ghosts. Ghostly characters worship Lord Shiva to be gradually guided toward a path of self-realization. Mayavadi philosophers are mostly worshippers of Lord Shiva, and Sripad Shankaracharya is considered to be the incarnation of Lord Shiva for preaching godlessness to the Mayavadi philosophers. Ghosts are bereft of a physical body because of their grievously sinful acts, such as suicide. The last resort of the ghostly characters in human society is to take shelter of suicide, either material or spiritual. Material suicide causes loss of the physical body, and spiritual suicide causes loss of the individual identity. Mayavadi philosophers desire to lose their individuality and merge into the impersonal spiritual Brahmajyoti existence. Lord Shiva, being very kind to the ghosts, sees that although they are condemned, they get physical bodies. He places them into the wombs of women who indulge in sexual intercourse regardless of the restrictions on time and circumstance. Kashyapa wanted to impress this fact upon Diti so that she might wait for a while. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvashesha Shunyavani Paschachadeshtarine Om Agyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishnang Snapitang Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Ahang Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Ragana Tanvatam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Perjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangsha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanja Kalpaturubhya Kripa Sindhuva Evacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So those who are convinced that Lord Shiva is the supreme being would say, "Aha, we told you. See, he's referred to as Bhagavan. Bhagavan Bhuta Bhavanaha." But Srila Prabhupada explains that in the spiritual culture of India, any great spiritualist or many great spiritualists, many great devotees are referred to as Bhagavan, like Bhagavan Narada. So just because Lord Shiva is referred to as Bhagavan in this verse doesn't mean that he's actually the supreme being. That's Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karna Karnam. Krishna is the supreme. Everything emanates from him. He says that himself, and it's stated about him by great personalities like Lord Brahma in Brahma Samhita and other places. So that's one point. Another point is that as far as we're concerned, the jury's out on the subject matter of ghosts, because that's also one of the subjects today. It's the main subject, by the way, ghosts. So as far as the Vaishnavas are concerned, the jury's out. Many people debate that. They think it's not a fact. It's just old wives' tales, or your parents say that to scare you from, when I was growing up, it was, many parents would use that to scare their kids to go to bed and stop acting up. If you don't go to bed right now, you're going to get attacked by a ghost. Okay, I'll go to bed. But no, it's not just a figment of parental imagination or old wives' tale. As far as the Vaishnavas are concerned, ghosts actually exist. It's stated in the Shastras over and over, like today's mentioned. They're mentioned. It's not just some allegory or story that's being told. Ghosts are factual. And Prabhupada himself said in 77, just before Prabhupada left, he went back to Vrindavan, because he said, if death takes place, let it take place here. And so when he arrived, he was giving a darshan, and some members, life members, and devotees were there. And gradually, most of them left, but when there were just a few left, the subject matter of ghosts came up. And Prabhupada said, I'm not afraid of ghosts. He said, I'm ghost-proof. And then he told that story about being in Lucknow and getting a cheap rent for that house that was ghostly haunted. But tellingly, Prabhupada didn't say, I am ghost-proof, therefore my business is going to be ghost-busting. Anybody who has problems with ghosts, just call up A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and I'll do it for a small fee. No, it's not our business. It's not our business. Prabhupada, being the perfect Vaishnava, perfect devotee, set example of what our business is. Chant Hare Krishna and get others to chant Hare Krishna. Worship the deities, get others to worship the deities. Distribute literature, get others to do that too. Or at least buy. So Prabhupada set the example of what our business is. It's not ghost busting. Although, from time to time, and in that same conversation he said, Mayapur, meaning our compound here, said, was full of Mohammedan ghosts. But he said, our chanting of Hare Krishna has driven them away. So again, Prabhupada knew, he established the fact that ghosts are a reality, it's not some figment. He dealt with them in that Lucknow incident. He said, nobody wanted that building, but I rented it because I'm not afraid of ghosts. And I sat down, I was chanting, and I saw the ghost, and I just kept chanting, and the ghost left. So Prabhupada knew that the chanting of Hare Krishna will drive ghosts away, and he himself did it, and he experienced it again in John Lennon's estate. There was a cottage for the groundskeeper and his wife, and the man always looked, he was friendly to the devotees, but he always looked a little bit shaken up. So gradually the devotees got to know him and asked him what was going on, and he said, the cottage is ghostly haunted. And Prabhupada acknowledged that. He said in that same conversation in 77 that England is full of ghosts, and some of them are evil. They will attack, even up to the point of killing. So Prabhupada again acknowledged that they're not necessarily Casper types. They're not the friendly ghost types. Kids in America were raised with, I don't know if they still have them, but earlier decades ago, they were Casper the friendly ghost. But no, they're not necessarily always friendly. Prabhupada said in that conversation, England is full of ghosts, and some of them are evil. They will attack up to the point of killing. So in that particular incident on Lennon's estate, the cottage was haunted, and the groundskeeper revealed eventually to the devotees, and the devotees told Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, make a chanting party, go there and chant in the cottage, they'll go away. So again, the devotees followed Prabhupada's advice, and that's exactly what happened. Now, we shouldn't conclude though that because Lord Shiva is Vaishnavanam Shambhu, he's the greatest of Vaishnavas, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, and he's the well-wisher of the ghosts, so we should also be well-wisher of ghosts and go out and preach to them. No. No, again, we should acknowledge that they're very powerful beings and we don't mess with them. Just like when Brigapati makes his plans every day to go distribute books, he doesn't include the LA Zoo, let me go, try to distribute books to the lions and tigers and elephants. No. First of all, it's not going to be fruitful, and it's dangerous. And Vaishnavas acknowledge danger. We don't say that because Vaishnava preachers are protected by Lord Nrsingadev, that therefore we put ourselves voluntarily into danger. And no, Prabhupada showed the example again as the perfect teacher when he was living on the Bowery with that young man who was crazy because of drugs. When the boy attacked him, he didn't say, I'm protected by Nrsingadev, I'm just going to stay and tough it out. No. Prabhupada noticed, he knew this kid is crazy, he could do anything. So he went to the other fledgling devotees, particularly Michael Grant, who became Mukunda Maharaj later on, and he told him the situation, so they found another place for Prabhupada to stay. So the point is that Vaishnavas are not foolishly brave. We don't put the onus of protection on the Lord, even though we accept, and one of the items of surrender is to accept that the Lord is your protector under all circumstances. Feel protected by the Lord, but at the same time, you don't necessarily put yourself into danger and say, okay, now protect me. Because one of the ways that the Lord protects us is by giving us the intelligence what to do and what not to do in every circumstance. You know, it's like, again, Prabhupada uses the example of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna didn't say, well, you've told me you're God, I accept that you're God, so just take care of it, you know. I'll sit down and smoke ganja and you can go and kill all the enemies. No. Arjuna had to fight. And he had to fight intelligently, taking directions directly from Krishna. Do this, don't do that. Even to break the rules of Kshatriya Dharma. Kill Karna when he's off the cart. Like that. So he took intelligence from Krishna and acted accordingly. So similarly, we take intelligence from Krishna. Not necessarily that we can see Krishna face to face and ask him, all right, what should I do today? But the outline is there, the guidelines are there, coming from Krishna's pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada. What to do every day. The overriding consideration is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. But how to implement that practically, that's what the path of Bhakti Yoga is all about. A Bhakti Yogi allows himself or herself to be trained to gradually clear the consciousness. So we don't necessarily follow Lord Shiva's example of having ghost followers everywhere we go and putting them into the bodies of women who are engaging in sex at an inopportune or inappropriate time. No, we don't go that way. We follow the incarnation of Godhead, most recent incarnation, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, again, some foolish people think that, well, Krishna came and he set so many examples that they try to follow, even though it's not recommended, like Krishna had so many gopi girlfriends. So they're thinking, if God can have so many girlfriends, I can also have a few girlfriends. What's the problem? No, that's not recommended. Because Krishna also set the example of married life. The girlfriend-boyfriend mood in Vrindavan, that's called Parakiya Rasa. But Krishna also set the Swakiya Rasa example, specifically in Dwarka. So how many queens did Krishna marry? 16,108. That's not recommended, we don't follow that. Out of them, 8 are principal, right? 8 main queens. There's a chapter in Krishna book about Krishna marrying 8 queens. So I'm going to give a little Krishna book test here now. The names of those 8 principal queens. The first one everybody should know. Rukmini Devi Ki Jai. We're all servants of Rukmini. We're being trained to serve Rukmini, serve Krishna through Rukmini. So Rukmini is the main one. And yeah, Lakshmana is 1. Satyabhama, that's 3. Huh? Did somebody say what? Mitravinda, that's 4. All right, that's 5. We have 3 left. No. Human day, but in the pastime she's known as Kalindi. So that's 6, Bhadra, and the last one? Aha! Even our seniors are getting stumped on that one. There's 1 left. Mitrabinda was said already. Think of who was the strongest person on the planet at that time. Besides Krishna, obviously Krishna is the strongest. Jambavan. What's his daughter's name? Jambavati. So, these are the 8 principal queens of Krishna in married consciousness. Swakiya Ras. But we can't imitate even that. Some devotees, when Prabhupada was here, are saying that, Prabhupada, you told us that in Vedic culture, there's polygamy is allowed, and you yourself at one point said that you wanted to get a second wife because you didn't get along with the first one, and your father talked you out of it, and you thanked him later on. But so Prabhupada entertained a discussion, and they were discussing back and forth, and then some devotees said, but Prabhupada, in Western culture, it's not allowed. Polygamy is not allowed. So Prabhupada, well, maybe just keep one as wife and the others as girlfriend. And devotees were very enlivened to hear that, and this discussion was going on. But then finally Prabhupada said, no, 1 wife only. He said, you can't even maintain 1 wife properly. There's no question of more than 1. 1. So I finished that conversation. But we know in Vedic culture, it was allowed more than 1, and Prabhupada explained why. That because in Vedic culture, spiritual elevation was stressed, many men opted not to get married. They went brahmachari straight to sannyas. They went to the Himalayas, or if they're following bhakti culture, maybe they stayed in the cities to preach, but many men did not marry. So that left a dearth of eligible men for marriage, and therefore those who were in the mood of being married were allowed to get more than one, especially in the Kshatriya class, but even amongst the Brahmanas. Brahmanas sometimes had more than one wife. But in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, no. One wife only, no keeping any extra girlfriends on the side, none of that. One wife only. This is Prabhupada's recommendation. Because the main goal of life for us, as stated by the Avadhuta Brahmana, indicated this. I mean, it's indicated in many, but this is a nice verse to help remember that. In the 11th canto, which is called General History, in the 9th chapter, if I remember correctly, 29th verse, this is this verse. Labdwa sadunamidam bahusambhavanti manusha artadam anityam apihadira turnamateta yapatet anamritya yavat nikshayasai vishaya kalusarva taksyat. Very important verse, Prabhupada cited many times. So that Avadhuta Brahmana is informing us that after many births and deaths, one attains this human form of life, which is very rare and is temporary, just like any other, but it can afford the highest reward. So he says, as long as your body is still alive, it hasn't fallen over dead, you should strive for attaining that goal, which you can't get in any other form. According to him, you can't get in any other form, just a human form. Instead of striving for sense gratification, which is available even in the most abominable species of life. Even in the most abominable species of life, sense gratification is there. So it's not the highest goal, obviously, if it can be attained so easily by anyone and everyone. The highest goal, as given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Krishna Prema. Prema Pumartha Mahat. We should strive for that, reawakening our love for Krishna, qualifying ourselves to go back to home, back to Godhead. This is the goal. And if we are taking it seriously and reaping the rewards of that, then we are motivated to preach. Otherwise, there's no meaning to preaching. You can't be a preacher, Prabhupada said, if you're not following yourself. We don't go out in the public and tell people to follow these breakthrough principles and then we ourselves break them. That's meaningless. There was one case of one, he was actually already initiated, if I remember correctly, but not following strictly. So he would go out, but he was very much into distributing books. So he would go out and distribute books and then take a cigarette break. Go around the corner and light up a cigarette and then come back and distribute more books. And so, yeah, of course, there was some benefit, those who got books from him, but the public will gradually see that your books are saying that you don't take any form of intoxication, not even coffee, tea, or cigarettes, and you're distributing those books and then you're going around the corner and so it doesn't inspire confidence. And that's true for all of the principles. There was a case when I was living in Alatra in the early 90s where some devotee was preaching and met one young lady and encouraged her to chant Hare Krishna and follow 3 principles. And after he got what he wanted, he disappeared. So she called up Rupanuga Vedic College, which at the time was based in Alatra. Now they're in Kansas City, but at the time they were based near Alatra, not in the Alatra community, but not far away. So she got the number, called up, and asked. He said, "This is how you people, you have no integrity. This Hare Krishna man, met me and told me to chant, but only told me about 3 principles." So again, it's not confidence inspiring if you go out in the public to preach and the books state clearly, and this is Prabhupada's genius, almost every single book states clearly, you must chant, you must follow these principles. So there's no ambiguity about the whole thing. And so people get these books and then they naturally use them as a litmus test for us. You gave me the book, are you chanting? Are you following the principles? You see? So we have to. Prabhupada said, first of all, you follow, and then you can induce others to follow. But again, that doesn't include ghosts. We don't go out preaching to ghosts. It's not our business. We don't go out preaching to animals, although they benefit. When we go down to the pier, Santa Monica Pier, and chant, the seagulls benefit. A lot of them fly overhead, and they sometimes perch quite close by. So by hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, they benefit. That was verified by Srila Prabhupada's guru, Bhaktisiddhanta, because sometimes the disciples would go out to some venue to preach and then come back and say there was nobody there. Guru Maharaj said, no, don't be sorry. Chant, give the lecture. The insects in the walls, they benefit. So we should never feel, that we wasted our time if we go somewhere and we chant and there's not a lot of people. And no, anybody who hears, they benefit. Hear the philosophy, hear the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is our business. Our family business is distributing invitations to everybody to go back to home, back to God. And the methodology is very clear. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. And if by chance you do encounter a ghost, I've several times, many times in my life. I told a story on Thursday. It's not a story, it's a fact, because the invitation was to speak at the Mantra House program about a monk. Invitation to meet a monk. Says, I'm not a monk, but I showed them Shivaram Swami's Facebook page because he put up. Just the day before, actually, he put up that he joined in 73 in Montreal. He was 24 at that time. And now 50 years later, he's a sannyasi, still practicing. So he was encouraging his disciples and followers, friends, stick to the path. Don't give it up. Just keep chanting, keep distributing this philosophy, following all the principles. It's not a waste of time. So I used him as a start-off point for my presentation, and I explained that, actually, correlation. I also joined in 73, but I was 21, and it was in New York, not Montreal. So I told the story of that building. Brigapati was there, he knows. He knows that in Maharaj's presentation on Facebook, he was saying that in Montreal it was formerly a bowling alley. So our building in Henry Street was formerly a convent. Catholic nuns were living there, and many of them died in the building. So when I joined in 73, they told us, don't go up to the 5th floor. It's haunted. There are ghosts up there. Don't go. But there were so many of us sleeping in that. I remember that summer, 73. There were so many brahmacharis sleeping in the room. It was hot. No question of AC. We had no AC. So I said, I can't take it. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going up there. I'll sleep by myself up there. It'll be cooler. So I did. I went up there, took my sleeping bag, and as they trained us, as soon as you join, they train you, sleep on your back. Never on your stomach. That's completely verboten. Never on your stomach. If you have to roll over on your side once in a while, fine, but as far as possible, try to sleep on your back. So I was doing that dutifully. I went up there, put down my sleeping bag on my back, fell asleep. Woke up, was startled, and couldn't move a limb. Not a finger, not a toe. And I saw this apparition, this female in white, floating towards me. And the mood was not friendly. I didn't feel that this person was here to, hi, how are you? I felt very heavy vibes, but I couldn't move, could not move. But again, early training, as soon as you join, they train you in any circumstance, you feel fearful of anything, chant to Lord Nrsingadev. So they teach you right away. At least the Nrsinga prayers that we chant every day, Namaste and Narasing. Later on, of course, I learned many more Nrsinga mantras, but that's all I knew at the time. So in my mind, I was chanting loudly, Namaste and Narasing. And she just kept coming, and then whoosh, over the head and disappeared. And I've had many more instances like that. But so, takeaway for us is that ghosts are real. They're not stories that people tell just to scare you. They actually exist. And the Bhagavatam explains that there's a hierarchy of living beings in the universe. And ghosts are above humans. They're stronger. They're stronger. That's why they can attack and take over and even kill human beings. So we don't mess around with them. We're not like Lord Shiva. We can give them benediction by placing them in like that. We don't take that. But we do acknowledge that they exist. And we protect ourselves by chanting the Nrsinga mantras. And that's one of the that's stated in the Nrsinga Kabacha. Kabacha means armor, just like we have that phrase in English, knight in shining armor. So these are mantra armors. armors created by mantras. So I think there are 32 texts total in the Sringa Kavacha, and text number 23 says, Vrishtikorga Sambhuta Vishapaharanam Param Brahma Rakshasa Yakshanam Durotsarana Karnam. If you chant this, the Sringa Kavacha, then Vrishtikorga, Vrishtika means scorpion, Korga is snake, Sambhuta, they cannot harm you. Vrishtikorga Vishapaharanam Param Brahma Rakshasa Yakshana. Brahma Raksha is the worst kind of ghost. It's a Brahmana who dies and becomes a ghost. They're the heaviest. You can't, even normal regular ghostbusters can't deal with them. And we know from the story of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that there was one of those Brahmadaityas in a tree. And people were worshipping that ghost and making offerings, and he wanted to stop it. So he employed one Brahmana to recite Srimad Bhagavatam under that tree. And when he was finished, boom, the tree cracked open and the ghost left. So Brahma Rakshasa, Yakshanam, and Yakshas, there are also some heavy beings in the universe, so none of them can touch you if you chant this Nrsimha Kavacha. So we take shelter of Lord Nrsimhadev in any circumstance, but especially if we are attacked by ghosts, which can happen. Like I said, it's happened to me on several occasions. Another one I'll share with you, when I used to travel with my ex-wife to her home country, Bosnia. So her maternal grandmother had passed away. And we went to the house, and after chatting with people for a while, they were scared. They said she's still there because she had lived in the house for so long and she died in that house. She wasn't going anywhere. She was there. I asked them, how do you know? Because we hear her moving around, and she used to take bath at a certain time, and we go there and the bathroom is wet. And so they were scared what to do. So anyway, now it turned out the only place that my ex and I could sleep was in her former bedroom. So we were sleeping in that bedroom separately. She was in one bed, I was in another bed. And in the middle of the night, just like in Henry Street, I woke up, I felt the presence. And sure enough, she came out of the closet. And she, again, it was not a friendly mood. She was mad as anything. I could tell that. Like, who are you sleeping in my room? That was the mood. So she came, and I immediately started chanting. Again, couldn't move, but was chanting so many mantras in my mind, Lord Nrsimhadev. And the same thing happened. She came right at me and then just disappeared. So any circumstance, not only with ghosts, even on Sankirtan. I'll end with this story. It's a story from right here in LA. I don't remember, maybe you know who the devotee was, but there was a devotee who told the story. He was out on Sankirtan distributing in a bad neighborhood, Crenshaw or Compton or someplace. But he was doing well. He was collecting. So as the end of the day was getting close, some gang members came around and said, give us the money. We've been watching you. We know you have money. Give us the money. And maybe foolishly, but this devotee said, I didn't want to give them the money. I worked hard all day for Prabhupada raising money. I don't want to give it to them. So what did he do? He closed his eyes and he yelled out, Nrsimhadev, I don't want to give them this money. Opened his eyes, they were gone. Maybe Lord Nrsimhadev actually, showed some Vajranakra, Vajradangstra, or maybe they just thought he was crazy, but whatever, he opened his eyes, they were gone. Nrsimhadev Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.